Hello, welcome back to another episode of Musings podcast. I'm your host Ungu Mildred, and I'm so happy that you have joined me today again. Welcome and thank you. So, on today's episode, I'm going to talk about mental health. I know it's not Mental Health Month or anything like that, but I came to this decision to speak about mental health because the other day I was talking to my cousin who lives and works in Canada, and she was telling me that there they usually get like a mental health day, that if you wake up and you're not feeling good mentally, you can call in and be like, yeah, I need a mental health day. And I was like, I wish that would work in Kenya, because here in this country they do not really care about mental health like at all. Like even the other day, I was so happy that they finally decided that people who try to commit suicide should not be criminalized, and taken into prison and something like that, because I feel like they finally understood that that is a cry for help, that is a problem with their mental health, and so you should not be criminalized and taken to prison. Instead, you should be helped out and taken to a mental health facility and get a therapist, and they can nurse you back to health, like mental health. So I am going to discuss, I think, 3 situations where my mental health was really, really, problematic. It was really, really bad, to the point that I came to suicide. But the moment I came to suicide was one of them, the first one. And then the others, it was bad, but I was sort of able to, try and deal with it. So the first time I discovered that I had depression, and I was working, I've spoken about this in my previous episodes. I was working at a doctor's clinic, and I had 2 bosses, and I was working in this office from the year 2018 February up to April 2022. And the reason I finally quit is because my mental health was terrible. Mentally, I was at a bad place. My finances were all over the place. I'm still in debt from that time. Like, I was just living this life that was just crazy. So, you remember the story about Mina? That had happened to me in that office. So, when I started working there in 2018, I was sort of okay, as I said previously. Like, I was happy in that office. It was finally a slowdown from whatever I was doing before, and I was fine. But by 2019, I started feeling like I was dragging. My life was dragging behind. I was losing myself. So I think later on, I started my blog. So my writing blog, that is miliana30.wordpress.com. Go there and check some stories out. So I started that just to keep myself, busy. That was in 2020. But before that, I was just mostly just sitting. Nafika job, natoka home asubuhi, naenda nakaa kwa traffic. I get to the office, clean, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and then just watch TV series until nitoke tena jioni. I wasn't booking appointments. I wasn't really doing anything important. That was part of my job description, but I wasn't doing any of that. Why? Because the bosses weren't coming to the office. Most of the time, they weren't there. So because they weren't there, I wasn't doing anything really. So it will kukatu, and whenever they would come, they will be the one to book their appointments, because I will just see them coming. And nimeka hivi nasikia nini footsteps kwa corridor, check the camera, I see it's them, or I just see them at the door, or a patient comes in and they're like, the doctor told me she was going to be here, so I do the necessary blah blah blah, and then they wait for the doctor, they come, I call the doctors, they come, they see them, take the payments, and they're gone. I was managing the petty cash as well. So there were things that I was doing, but they were minimal and far from each other. Like sometimes we'll see a patient once a month or 2 times a month, which was crazy. So I started losing myself and losing my mind. I felt like I was slowing down, that people's lives were going ahead and I was still back. So in 2020, when I started my writing blog, that helped a lot, because it was during the pandemic and I had just gone back to work, and I was like, okay, let me start doing this. Let me start writing, and this is going to be good. So I started my blog, and in 2020, I remember I would upload an episode every single week, apart from a little time during the pandemic while I was at home for like 2 months. That's the only time I didn't update every week, but I tried to do that until 2021. I did it every single week. And then in 2021, Mina and her group came in. I stopped because I wouldn't type. Whenever I go to type, somebody's talking to you, somebody's moving around, somebody's doing this. And so I stopped writing. But then when they left, I continued. And then since then, I haven't really been uploading because my mind just wasn't the same. So what really pushed me off the edge is by 2022, actually 2021, after Mina and everybody who was there, my mental health had deteriorated drastically. So while working in that office, I developed anxiety because Thika Road is not for the weak-hearted. Unatoka kwa nyumba mapema, umekaa kwa hiyo traffic, and then mnafika pale Muthaiga, driver anaingia service lane. Kwanzia aingilia Muthaiga, anaingilia huko hiyo college inaitangwa nini, hiyo university hapo. Anaingilia huko service lane. So by the time mnafika hapo, lane yenu imesimamishwa and you have to stay there, unashinda unaangalia saa. Sasa hiyo kuna mdosi fulani maybe amelipana Kiambu Road will be on the move for like 20 minutes straight. Ama mnafungulia for like 2 minutes, mmesonga tu kutoka hapa paka the next few feet. Alafu after that imefungwa tena. So unakaa kwa traffic, you are seeing yourself get late and you had prepared yourself ukijua hata with traffic I'll still make it. Alternatively, ni ile wamefika huku Thika Road, wameingia wameenda Juja Road. Uko waende mzungushwe and then you still end up getting late. Jua mjuu utafika saa ngapi, au kama utapata na traffic huko. Like, it was just always chaotic. So whenever I would have to call the bosses to tell them like, hey, I'm going to be late, or just text them, I'm going to be late, I would feel some type of way because I didn't like being late. But there's one time, one of the bosses lied about me. So what she did is I had been telling her that I was late, and then I asked for permission to be off from work on Saturday. And then she ended up telling somebody, the lady who had helped me get that job, she called her and was like, this girl, can you talk to her? She keeps getting late and she keeps asking for permission every Saturday. She just wants to be home. And then she lied about something using my name as well. So when I confronted her, because I spoke to her and I was like, hey, she's my boss, yes, but I had to tell her, do not lie using my name. Because why are you lying using my name? Why say something, I said something when I didn't? So she was like, I'm sorry, it's just that I felt like that's what you meant. I'm like, no, please don't do that. If I don't say something, it means I do not think it. You cannot say that I said something because you felt like that's what I meant. So like these people are driving me crazy, pole. And another time she came and insulted me as well. So anyway, here traffic, whenever I would have to call, she would just be like all over the place and she would say things. So tangu hiyo siku adanganya using my name, I started having anxiety whenever I had to text her to tell her that I was going to be a few minutes late. And the funny thing is, yes, I'm going to the office, but I'm not going to be doing anything. Nobody is going to be inconvenienced because nobody is at the office. There's no patient waiting and the door will be locked. They're not coming in, so nothing. I'm not inconveniencing anybody. It's just that yes, I'm going to be a few minutes late. But am I inconveniencing anybody? No, I'm not. So anyway, that made me feel worse. So I developed anxiety whenever I would have to text them because I was going to be late. It just made me feel like so bad. I had to remind myself to breathe. And then also whenever I would have to text them to ask them if, because we had a WhatsApp group chat, sort of like office group chat. So whenever I would have to ask for like an off day on Saturday or my leave days, I would text on the group. One of the daughters will look at it and be like, okay, fine. And then she wouldn't respond there. She used to do sometimes, but sometimes she'll just be like, no, I'm not going to answer. And I will know that she checked the message. Her excuse, of course, will be like she was busy. That's why she didn't respond. But then she would have to wait until I call her. And then you call her and then the way she sounded just sounded weird. And so that will also give me anxiety. I didn't like calling her to ask her for permission to be off work. I just preferred, let me text, you respond on the messages, and that's okay. But then if you don't, I have to call anxiety, like a bad one. But anyway, I used to survive. I used to do it and, I'd move on. But then those are the things that were messing up with my mental health. And so, miaka zikisonga, I remember I was like, I'm spending so much on just fare, and the money they're paying me is not a lot. And yes, they're not coming to the office. But the thing is, if they will be coming, we'll be making good money. And by that time, because I was almost about to renew my contract for the third time, money would have to be at least iongezwe. But when I tried to tell them about it, she told me that I would have to tell her what extra things I can do at the office so that she could add my salary. And I was like, you're already not coming to the office, so I don't know what else I can be doing. That was in my mind. And then she says, like, you're not, like even now, you're not a secretary because you're not doing the jobs a secretary is supposed to be doing. You're just a mere, I will not say the word, but the moment I had her say that word is the day I was like, I have to get out of this office or else I'm going to do something very, very drastic. I have to leave, and I have to leave like yesterday. And she accepted, like, I know it's not your fault, it's ours because you're not always here, but still, you're just a mere this. So I cannot add your salary because there's not much that you're doing for you to tell me that, yeah, I need to add your salary. But I'm like, I'm still spending fare to come to this office. I'm still spending money just to be here. So it does not matter that you are not coming to the office, but I'm spending money coming here. So I need to be refunded for that somehow. But this was all in my head. I did not tell it to her because the moment she called me a mere whatever she had, and her partner had called me a mere secretary at some point, as if the word secretary is bad. Like by just putting that a mere secretary, my mind was not there. So counting down, she had lied using my name. She used to treat me as if I was a third-class citizen. One time she called herself white, even though she's Indian. And she was like, us white people, we do this and this and this. Us bosses, other bosses talk to us. They cannot just talk to anybody, so they cannot listen to you, but they can listen to me because I'm a boss like them. Another time she talked, like, hey, the number of times this woman used to just say things, and I would just look at her. I don't even think she felt like she was saying something bad to me. And then the whole Mina thing and how she reacted towards it. So this day that I told her about I confronted her about her lying using my name. After that day, she started saying that I'm very temperamental, that I'm very emotional. Like, yeah, it's like I shouldn't have asked her about why she lied using my name. Like, why not? You can't go around saying things, I said things that I didn't say. That's not how life works. Because I was wondering, what if the tables were turned? What if I was going to people and telling them, oh, Dr. So-and-so said this and this, and it was a lie? And you're lying to somebody who knows me, somebody who can talk to my family members and say that, yeah, Mildred's boss was saying this and this about her. Kumbe Mildred does this to her bosses. Like, don't lie using my name. I don't care who you are. I will ask you about it. So after that, she started saying I'm temperamental, I'm very emotional, she cannot tell me anything. And that's why during what Mina was doing to me, she never asked me about it because I'm temperamental and I'm very emotional. So anyway, by the time she called me Amia, that word that I will not say, I was done with this office. But I still had days to my contract ending. And I actually think I wanted to quit before. But then when she told me to write a resignation letter, that's when I looked at the mother was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be renewing my contract soon. And so I ended up leaving in April, just after my contract ended, instead of, writing a resignation letter and everything. But by the time I was leaving, my mental health was very, very bad. I used to go into that office because I would wake up in the morning after my alarm was gone off and my head would start aching. Like ningepata migraine mbaya, which is something the last time that had happened to me is when I was doing my training years ago. But it had been years since I had felt like that while going to work. So I would wake up in the morning, migraine. Take my shower, prepare myself to go to work, migraine. Get into the matatu, anxiety, and I join the migraine. And now I'm in a very, very bad place mentally. And I'm going to work. I would feel like crying. What used to keep me sober was like the music I was listening on radio in the morning. But anybody comes online, because it's a radio station, if somebody calls and they're saying a bad thing, like sharing a bad story they experienced or something like that, tears will come to my eyes and niko kwa gari naenda job. So I would have to like sit on the window seat, then niangalie tu nje, or I do something that will, push the tears back so that I'm not like crying in the matatu. But it was really bad. I'll get into the office, clean, then sit at my desk, nawasha computer najiuliza, nimetoka kwa nyumba nimeacha TV, nimetumia fare pesa sina, nimekuja kukaa kwa hiyo ofisi kuwatch TV na nimeacha TV kwa nyumba. So nikilipwa mshahara end month, nalipa madeni, nazikopa tena ndo ni survive another month. Nilipe madeni, nizikope tena ni survive another month. And I know somebody will tell me you should live according to your means. Yeah. But you do not know my story. You do not know what I was going through. So you cannot say something like that. So don't do it. Okay? Don't. But that was me. Nalipwa, lipa madeni, kopa tena, ivo. Alafu ndio hiyo nakuja nimekopa deni, nikuje nikae hapa. Nimetumia kama fare nikuje nikae kwa hiyo ofisi. Ni watch TV the whole day. Alafu jioni tena niende nitumie fare nirudi kwa nyumba. By that time I was done. Nikikaa hapo saa zingine nimezubalia hivi TV, machozi inaanza kutoka. I start having these scary thoughts. Like, what if I cut my wrist? How long will it take before somebody found me like drowning in the pool of my own blood? Of course, not like literally drowning, but just lying in the pool of my own blood. How long will somebody find me? There's a camera here. Will it take them the time to call me? Alafu one sishiki simu ndo akuje? Or what will happen? Like, how long will it take before somebody found me lying in the pool of my own blood? Those were my thoughts. I was contemplating suicide every single day in that office. My mind, I felt like I was going crazy. Things weren't working out. I was feeling like watu wanaendelea na maisha yao mbele na me, I'm still stuck. I felt like while working in that office, my life didn't move. Honestly, hakuna kitu ya maana nilibai nikiwa kwa hiyo ofisi naweza sema I worked at this place and I bought this. Because the salary just wasn't enough. Funny thing, while working at the restaurant before, I was being paid way less than the money I was being paid here. But tofauti ni fair. Huku nilikuwa nalipa pesa mingi fair, so it took a lot of the money. The other place, not so much. But either way, my mental state was not good at all. I was at a bad place and I couldn't afford therapy. Even now, I still can't afford therapy. But mentally, I was at a bad place. So I was having anxiety, suicidal thoughts. I was depressed because I felt like my life was just not going anywhere. And so when I left, I felt sort of okay, sort of relieved. I remember I left, went to the village, stayed with my grandmother for a while. Then I came back on after kazi. And now, hiyo kutafuta kazi, it will bring me to my second story about where my mental health was really, really affected. So I come back, I start looking for work. Somebody directs me to a cruise ship job. I go online, Royal Caribbeans, I apply, I get a job on Celebrity Cruises, which is part of Royal Caribbean. I get a job, I get a contract. I was going to be paid good money, y'all. Like, what? I get the contract, I get my itinerary, I get like everything came through. I started the process. I already had a passport, so I started with my, doing my medicals, my nini. There's this course I had to do online. Everything goes well until the last moment. Yeah, visa. So kuna visa nilikuwa nimeambiwa nitafuta ya Schengen. I didn't fill out a small space kwa hiyo ya Schengen. I filled it the wrong way, which was something that if it was a good person who was checking it on the other end, angenipigia tu simu niambie, is this what you meant or not? And I would have changed it and everything would have been okay. I'm saying that because when I called the embassy, somebody from the embassy told me that that is what the person who got my papers should have done, but they never did that. Instead, akaniambia to no. And so when it was changed, my contract was changed, nikapatiwa itinerary ya US. And so ilikuwa niende nikatafuta US visa. Inaitwa C1D, that is for cruise ship workers, seafarers, yeah. So I wait kutafuta kwanza kupata date ya appointment ilikuwa nini, interview ilikuwa hard, but then I got it and I went. And this man asked me one question, followed it up with another one. I was asking honestly because he asked me the same question. I was asked for the interview for this job. I answered it the same way and I got the job. Lakini this man refused to give me the visa and I gave him the same answers. So I don't know, I was supposed to lie or something, I don't know. And then he looks at me and he tells me, the US is a very strict place. Your visa has been denied. This form will tell you why. And he gives me the pink slip. The way I felt that day, I was already nervous. I was already so anxious because it's the US embassy. And these people don't just give people visas. And everybody I was talking to was like, utapewa, you don't have a nini criminal past, you don't have any problems, nini, utapewa, usijali, mbona ukose kupewa, utapewa. Everybody was telling me that. And in my mind, a part of me was like, sawa, nitapewa. And another one was afraid because these things are usually 50-50. But when that man said that, I don't think I'll ever forgive him because he doesn't know what he did to me. He doesn't know what he did to my grandma. Because leaving that place, I was like a zombie. I remember nikipita place ya simu zilikuwa zimewekwa and walking past it, only to remember after nimesonga ndo nikarudi nyuma and I had to stand there, watch people nilikuwa tumekaa nao kwa line tukipiga nao story. Saizi wameshikana pamoja because hawa wamepata na mimi sijapata. Wanatembea sasa pamoja ni kama siko nao because now we are two different people. They can go to the US, me I cannot. So I don't want to cry because of this. It always gives me anxiety just talking about it because it was a bad time. Knowing that I have to call my grandma and tell her that nimenyimwa visa after all we had spent, after every time we had waited, like the money I was going to be getting from this job. Right now my life will be so different. And God will have to do something super, super great for me. Ndo niweze kusema, okay, that day nilinyimwa hii visa, this is why God did that, because he was preparing me for this moment. But so far, hakuna kitu imefanyika yenye inaweza, cancel that out. The way I felt, I've never felt like that. Any came back, kwenda tao na matatu, kutoka tao paka, okay. Kurudi home, the way I was feeling, even now, I don't think I'll ever heal from that. Because I've never felt, even with the suicidal thoughts at the previous office, never felt the way I felt that day. Because niliona ni kama ile umekuwa na njaa, finally umeona chakula hivi, unajua unaenda kuikula and you're going to be okay. Finally unaenda kuishika hivi unaambiwa, hii chakula si yako. Ni ya ule mtu, na yako hatujui itakuja lini. That was that. This feeling I had. Nikafika kwa mat, nikapigia shusho yangu and told her that, yeah, they denied. She was just like, calm down, don't worry. But I felt the disappointment in her voice as well. Nikafika home, I called her again out to talk properly and she told me the way she was feeling now, vizuri. That just caused me even more anxiety. I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't able to eat. For a week, I avoided praying because I was so afraid of prayer. I couldn't pray. I was like, whenever I pray to God, God does not answer my prayers. This was a big thing I was praying to God for. My life will be changed. Oh my God. Oof. My life will be changed because of this opportunity. And God just told me no. And I spoke to my grandmother and then she was feeling as well. It was like, that was the worst time of my life. The worst. That day, that week, I would sleep and have nightmares. Like, hey. So ilikuwa tu niko tu kwa bed nimefunga macho ama tu nifungue tu macho, ni usiku. Nasikia tu saa ikisonga. Because I couldn't sleep. Try to sleep, nothing. Wake up, sit, try to eat, nothing. Siskila their food, I'm just like, no. Until my grandmother was like, can you come to the village? Come. Do not sit in that house by yourself. Come, because she will tell me to go to visit my aunt or something. And I'll be like, I'll go there and I'll have to talk about this. And I'll have to cry and cry and cry. I will just cry. Because that man, I know he's only doing the job that he was given. They have a quota they have to fulfill. But that man at the embassy, US embassy, he will never know what he did to me. And I know I'm not the only one, but this I'm talking about me. He will never understand the pain he caused. He'll never understand what he did to me, the separation, because I haven't had a job since then. It's been kuteseka too, like hustling and borrowing from people, and life has not been easy. And all that man had to do was say yes, and I'll be working an amazing job, a job that I would loved actually, because I was going on board as a baker. So I would have gained more experience. I would have loved it even more. Ama tu ni bakery mambo za pastry hazinitaki. Maybe I'm the one who's been trying to force myself into it, and that's why God was like, no. But seriously, that man will never know what he took from me, and I'll never forgive him for it. Like, even if in the future I found a way to go to the US to visit, I will never forgive that man. Hata kama niendo atanipatia the yes next time. And if he did, after nimepata naweza mwambia tu, like, I don't know, maybe I won't say anything, but I will never forgive him. Because that week was the worst. And the moment I got to the village and I saw my grandmother and I gave her a hug, hapo ndo roho yangu ilitulia. I ate for the first time properly that day. I slept mpaka the next day at around 10, which is something I hadn't done that previous week. So, as always, love to my grandma. Lots and lots of love to my grandma. Because she, just hearing her voice always calms me down. But that was a moment I just needed to see her. But my mental health, that I think that was at its lowest. And I'm saying, like, even with the suicidal thoughts that same year and the previous year, they weren't as worse as this. Because with the suicidal thoughts, I was just thinking about them. I wasn't sure I was going to go through them. But this one was something that had been taken away from me, something that I really wanted to happen. And so my mental health was at a really, really bad place. Now, moving forward to the third one and the last major thing that happened. So in 2023, the lady who had gotten me the job at the doctor's office, she was going on maternity leave and she asked me to go and cover for her at her office. And because I considered her a friend, I was like, okay, sawa sawa. I went in towards the end of April and I officially started on the 2nd, I think, of May, because that was the Monday. I don't know, like something like that. Because I went in on a Friday just to get to know everything. And then on Monday I went there. We stayed with her until the 16th of May. That's when she went and gave birth. From the day I went, I started asking her, because she had known why I'd left the previous place. I told her about what that boss of mine had been doing and saying. She's the one that my boss lied to about using my name. She knew why I'd quit. Part of it was about the money that they were paying me. It was too little and I was in debt and all of that. And the anxiety and the depression. I had spoken to her about all of these things before I quit. Because before I decided, I told my grandma, I told her because she's the one who had gotten me the job. And I told one of my aunts. So they knew. So I asked her when I got there, like, hey, so how much is the doctor going to be paying me? Because it was a doctor's office as well. And she tells me, usijali, hamtakosana. So I'm like, okay. But because I remember even talking to my grandma that same day and I'm being like, even though ameniambia, and I just hope that it will not be some stupid money. Because isikuwe ni pesa kidogo itafanya tukosane. So I was like, okay, sawa sawa. Then after some time, then I think after a week or so, I asked her again. And she was like, usijali, mtuongee tu na daktari hamtakosana. And I'm like, okay. Then the 16th comes and she leaves and she goes and gives birth. Mi nabaki kwa ofisi. I continue working. I should say this, that first month I was okay. May, it was the hardest, especially the first week. I was sleepy. I was still getting to the idea of waking up at 5 again in the morning so that I can be at work early in the morning. So, like, ilikuwa getting used to. But after that, the second week I was okay. Third week I was fine. But then things changed. Siku ilifika ya kulipwa. The boss calls me to the office and he gives me my money, my salary. And he explains that he's giving me that money because that's all he wants to give me, because he cannot pay me more, because he doesn't want to, because if he does, he's going to have to pay for things that he does not want to pay for. And I look at him and I listen to the excuses giving me as to why he's paying me peanuts. And I'm like, okay. He was paying me even less than what I was being paid at my previous office. And I'm like, did she know? That was the first thing that came to mind. Did she know? And all my anxieties come back, because now I'm like, I'm going to have to suffer the same way I suffered in that other office. This was a trigger for me. Itafika mali niweze kuomba fare. Itafika mali nijiulize, do I weka hii pesa for tomorrow fare ama nikule supper? Itafika mali, and I was like, not again. He was talking to me and I just switched off. I leave the office like a zombie and I go. I don't know if I asked her that day or if I asked her the next day, but I remember I called my grandma and I told her. And I was like, I'm quitting. I'm going to tell him that I'm not going to come back. I know she's just given birth, but she better find somebody else, ama kama ni hata rudi or whatever, but I'm not about to do this, because my heart, like the anxiety, it just came back. Everything I used to feel, nikiende job ingine, it came back like it had never left. I had already stayed at home for a year by that time without work, but hey, everything came back. It was as if nilikuwa nimetoka hiyo job ingine jana na nimeangukia hii. And one thing I think I have to say is that I was forced to work with one of my former bosses as well from time to time. Huyo mwenye alikuwa ananifanya, my life was just like, no, that one that was traumatizing me in her office. I had to work with her from time to time, like not work with her really, but like talk to her on the phone, write invoices for her patients sometimes. And once I saw her at that office, the trauma I had, I don't think people, like even that lady, I don't think she understood when I said, I do not want to see this woman. I do not want to associate with her, but it's work and I was doing a service for this lady. I was like, Misawa, I'll do it. Just as long as she doesn't cross the line and ask me to do 1, 2, 3 for her more than I should, I'll be okay. And I was, until this day or the payment. I was like, no. And then my grandmother tells me, do not quit. She's just given birth. Just give her some time, or talk to her and ask her if she can, what she can do about it or whatever. Just try, but don't leave her hanging. And I'm like, okay. My empathy kicks in and I'm like, sawa. So I talked to her, I think the next day after I've calmed down, and I'm like, do you know that he paid me this? This is very little money and you know this. I wouldn't have taken this job if I knew. And she tells me, Usijali, I knew she was going to pay you that. I knew she wouldn't go beyond that, because hawa watu wanakuanga hivyo. He wouldn't have paid you more because they don't want to pay for taxes. And that, hearing her say that she knew it was part of the reasons why I quit my previous job. The salary was too bad. And she knew this man was going to pay me less, and she accepted. And I'm sorry, I do not mean any disrespect to him. He's an amazing doctor. I don't mean any disrespect by calling him this man. But she knew he was going to pay me that. And she allowed me. That's why alikuwa ananiambia, usijali hamtakosana. She knew, and she knew that if I said no, she would have to look for somebody else. So she was being selfish by not telling me exactly how much he was going to pay me. Na juu saizi tayari niko kwa hiyo ofisi, she knew I couldn't do anything about it. But I could quit. So I tell her, miss yuni nikikaa. Juu pesa ni kidogo sana, because I can't. If I knew this is how much he was going to be paying me, I wouldn't have come. I would have said no. And then she starts, oh, now I do not have somebody to leave my baby with. I'm just giving birth, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I can come back if that's what you want. If you're not. And then my empathy takes place. And I'm like, okay, fine, don't worry. I'll stay. And I stayed. And the more I stayed in that office, the more I hated it there. Especially when I came to see how much she was being paid. Because a good person, knowing that I'm going to be paid less money, knowing how I felt about being paid less money, would have gone, okay, juu mimi siendi job lakini bado nalipwa my entire salary. How about ile pesa mimi ningetumia kama fare, I be giving you to top up your salary, ndio kunatumia kama fare. I feel like that is what I would have done if I was in a position. Knowing my situation, that is what I would have done. The friends I spoke to, that's what they said they would have done. Because again, I was doing a favor for her. But the way she took this situation is like she was helping me out. Don't get me wrong. Being at home not having a job is bad. Let's get that straight. But even with my little hustles, the hustles that I was doing at the time, the money I was getting was helping me get by. Because nikipata hata kama ni 500, I buy food. Nipate 1,000, I pay for electricity. Nipate 1,500, nilipie wifi. At that time, ilikuwa bado 1,500. Nipate kiasi fulani, I do this, I do that. I was getting by. But saizi umeniongezea issue ya nafaa kulipa fare, nafaa nikule breakfast, lunch na dinner. Because nikiwa kwa nyumba, I only eat one meal. But nikitoka niende job, nitafika kwa ofisi ni asubuhi, hiyo baridi ya asubuhi, kahawa. Nikaekea saa lunch, watu wanapita na lunch boxes kwa corridor, watu wamefungua machakula, kuna nukia nini, njaa. What do? I have to eat lunch. Then nikuje nyumbani tena I have to eat because nimekaa kwa traffic ama nimekaa nikingojea gari kwa stage and all that. By the time nafika home stalala tu niseme ni sawa nitakunywa kesho chai. Jui chai kunyuki na kitu na nikibai hiyo ni pesa ingine. Chai, the office does not provide tea. I have to buy this. So you can understand, like I needed money to provide like breakfast and lunch for myself and also for fare, plus kujilipia rent and other bills. And this money I was being given was not going to be enough for that. So you as a person that I'm helping, I feel like she should have offered. But instead alichukulia like she was helping me so much because usually unakwanga tu umekaa kwa nyumba earning no money. So me having you here is me helping you because you're getting money. But no. All my anxiety, all my depression, all my stress, it all came back tenfold. Whenever that lady would call, that former boss, and I would see her name kwa simu, ndo hiyo trauma triggered pap. End month inakaribia hivi, sina fare, sina pesa ya food, sina nini, trauma triggered again. Hiyo pesa yenyewe napata, I remember vile nilikuwa napata pesa nalipa madeni na baki tayari kope. So saizi nimepata, I have to repay people walinisaidia kulipa fare. I'm like going back to the same steps. And these are the things she wasn't understanding whenever I would tell her, I'm not okay. Because I was fighting all of these things. And I would tell them to her and she would behave like it was nothing. It was as if I was just creating them in my head or I was just trying to be difficult. And I remember telling my friend and my grandmother as well, like I'm helping her out here, but once I leave utaskia story, she will say something. Either I was rude or I was bad, or she will say I should have stayed. Because the 3 months I was supposed to be there ended up being 4 months. Because just before her maternity leave ended, she went in for a minor surgery. That meant that I had to move, like to continue working there. So this time I went and spoke to the boss and I was like, I cannot continue coming because the money you're paying me is not enough. I can't do that. And he was like, but I need you here. You have to stay, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, I don't mind staying, but this money I just can't. I can't. And it was like, so how much do you want? I asked for the amount that I would have asked for. Should either of them have given me the courtesy of asking me how much I need at the beginning? And it's like, okay, fine. So I ended up staying for that month, another month. So instead of 3 months, I stayed for 4 months. And I knew that, itatokea story. I'm sure kutatokea story after I leave. I told my grandmother and I told my best friend. I told them kutatokea story. After I leave, utaskia. None of them will think that I helped. Itakuwa tu, I'm the one who did something wrong. But by this time, the first month, second month, third month, I was done. I was done with the place. I didn't want to be there anymore. I was doing a favor for a person who was not appreciating it, and I knew she wasn't. And when people, like the clients, were insulting, there's one who used the F word on me, who used like, called me a hoe, called me what, and all because I called to ask for the payment he was supposed to make like on Friday, and he didn't pay. He didn't pay on Saturday, and I reminded him on Monday, and he was so offended because how dare you remind me? And so he came in and insulted me. And when he didn't see me reacting in any negative way, like getting upset or whatever, I just had like my face, I was just going about my business. But because I have a mean resting face, he was like, why are you reacting like that? Why are you behaving as if you are upset with me? And then he ended up creating this whole scene, insulting me. I just went in and told the daughter, like, this man is insulting me. Can you talk to him? And I was like, okay, I will. Another patient comes in. She wants me to give her recommendations on how she's going to take care of her foot because she had fallen and twisted her leg. And when I couldn't do that, she gets upset. What does she do? She starts insulting me. Because what are you doing here? What is your job here? Another one calls me on the phone, asks me about something. And then when I tell her that that's not something I'm supposed to be doing, that's the only person who can do that is the doctor, she gets upset, starts insulting me. I hung up on her because I wasn't going to listen to her insult me. And then somebody else calls on the phone, and because my tone can be different depending, if you know me, you understand that this is how I talk, but most people do not know me. And if this is the first time we are talking and you're used to people being submissive to you or something like that, you might think that I'm being rude or something, and so they go like, hey, I don't appreciate your tone. So if it's somebody I can actually talk to, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do because this is how I talk. But this person called me and she wanted me, actually most of the people, they will have a problem with me because they wanted me to be treating them the same way that lady was treating them, forgetting that we're two different people. And they'll be like, you don't know, that's not how so and so does it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, she's not here, because I won't treat you the same way she does because I don't know how she treats you. And some of them would lie, and I would ask her, like, so and so was saying this and this, is that how you behave with them? And they will be like, no. So why were they lying to me? But these same people will go and complain to the boss that, yeah, she was actually rude. So this particular lady, she calls and she wants me to treat her the same way this other lady treats her. And I'm like, I don't know. But I instruct her. She comes, she gets in. And when she leaves, she goes out. She talks to me nicely. Even says that I'll call back for another appointment if I need to. And you're like, okay, thank you, thank you. And she leaves. Only for her husband to come into the office. And this husband of hers starts talking down on me, like talking down to me. And he's like, you should learn to be kind on the phone. And I'm like, what do you mean, sir? Okay, I didn't call him sir, but I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I did not appreciate the way you spoke to my wife on the phone. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I was speaking to her, not to him. So of course, the way she went and explained to him must have been different. So I'm like, okay, just to avoid issues, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound rude on the phone. And it's like, yeah, because you have to learn manners. You have to learn how to speak to people on the phone. You have to be kind. You have to be. I'm like, okay, fine. Because I'm just trying to like finish this thing as soon as possible because there are other patients waiting and he's causing a drama. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm sorry. He goes on, it's not fine though, is it? You're saying it's fine, but it's not fine. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Do you know how much stress I'm in right now? My mental health cannot take you talking to me the way you're talking to me right now. So could you please just stop? But I have to listen because anybody who has worked as a receptionist, a secretary, or, customer care, you know how it goes. And you have to be cordial, you have to be quiet, you have to listen and take it, because I know I've been the person calling, customer care and going off on them until I catch myself and I'm like, hey, I know it's not your fault and I'm taking out on you, but I have to take it on somebody because you guys are messing up big time, so I get it. But this person, it's like he wanted me to yell back or to do something so that he can say, you see, You see, this is what I meant when I said that you're being rude. But because he wasn't getting that from me, he kept on talking and talking. And I'm like, oh my God. So I just keep quiet. And I say, I'm sorry. And he continues. I say, it's fine. He continues until he was like, I'm going to tell the doctor. I'm going to report you. And I'm like, please do that. Because what else was I supposed to tell him? Because he's yelling and he doesn't want to listen to me. I was like, okay, please, yeah, please do. Just tell him. And that's the only time he left. So, of course, he reported that I don't know. He never asked me. The boss never asked me. So, honestly, I don't care. Honestly, I don't. But then the last one was another patient who actually, she wasn't the patient. Her son was the patient. And I get where she was coming from. But by the time she was calling me and going off on me, I was done. It was the last day, last full day. So the next day I was supposed to come in and hand over to this lady. She was coming back finally. My mind was feeling like, yeah, fine. Finally, she's coming back. I'm going to be out of this place. But another part of me was like I was relieved, but another part was afraid that maybe kesho itafika tena ama leo jioni aniambie I can't come, because she had done that twice. So I was like, okay, please, please, please. Just for context, this lady had been calling. She was waiting for a particular doctor who usually comes like once a year in Kenya. And she was waiting for this doctor. And she kept calling every week. Every week, I was giving her the same answer, because she had already been told, wait until this time. That's when this doctor is going to come. But she kept on calling every week, every week. And of course, the doctor knew her. He knew that she's waiting for this other doctor. The doctor told her countless times, but she kept on calling and asking the same things. So this day, I think she just caught me at a bad time, because I was really, really not in for it. Like, I was done. Nilikuwa nimetukanwa. My mental state was bad. I was at a bad place. I was just not there. Like, kabisa, I was holding on by a thread. Like, ilikuwa tu mtu anifanyie sa nipasuke. And so I take responsibility for how I responded the first time, because I was like, nimeshinda nikikwambia, like, just call the doctor. That is what I said. Nimeshinda nikikwambia, or was it like, nitakwambia mara ngapi just to call the doctor? I don't know which one I used, but one of those. Either way, it was rude. I take that. I accept it. But then after I did that, of course, I caught myself and I was like, shit. But then she's like, what? What did you just tell me? And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. But it's just that you call every week and I tell you the same thing. And I don't think the answer has changed. So could you please just call? I know I can call him. If I wanted, I could have called. And I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, then why did you just do that? Because you know you'll call me and that's the answer I'll give you. So she asked for this other lady. Hasn't she come back yet? She never speaks to me. And I'm like, no, but she'll be here soon. The next time you call, you will find her. And then she goes off and starts insulting me. By this time, I was not for it. Like, I was not going to listen to it. My mental state was not in a place where I could listen to insults and take them and be kind and be cordial and absorb and still smile and say I'm sorry and everything. So I hung up on her. She called back and she's like, did you just hang up on me? And I'm like, yeah. What? How dare you? And I'm like, you are being insulted. You are being insulting. You cannot expect to insult me and I listen to it. Nimepitia vitu mingi, interaction na watu wengi, lakini hakuna mtu ashawahi nionyesha madharau kama yako. Nobody has ever hung up on me. And in my mind, I'm like, because probably I've never insulted anybody the way you've just insulted me. But then I'm like, I'm sorry, but I had to, because you have told me, yes, I've accepted, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have responded that way. I'm sorry. So-and-so is going to be coming back on this day. You can call the doctor and ask him about these dates, because I'm not sure. I can confirm for you again by myself, but I do not know. And after that, that's all I can tell you for now. Please call the doctor. If you don't find him on phone, please text him on WhatsApp and he'll respond. she listens, and she's like, okay, okay, sawa, sawa. And then she goes back to the insult again. And she insults me, and she insults me. I hang up again. She calls back. It's my duty. It's my job. I pick up again. You just didn't hang up on me again. And Madam, we have already spoken about this. I've told you what I need to tell you. You know what you're supposed to do. I'll listen to that. I'll apologize again. But you cannot, seriously, you cannot insult me and expect me to continue listening to you insult me. I'm sorry for what I said. We have moved on from that. But I will not listen to you insulting me. I'm going to tell the daughter, I'm like, please, like, by this time, I just didn't care. Aki, honestly, by this time, I was done. I didn't care. I was just like, do it. Do it. Honestly, tomorrow is my last day. I know people say that you have to be okay so that they can recommend you, blah, blah, blah. The boss, it's fine. Ata asipo, it's okay. Like, it's not my portion. It was not meant to be. He wasn't meant to, like, niongelea vizuri to anybody else or recommend me anywhere else. He was not meant to do it, so it's fine. By that time, I was done. I was done. My patience, my resolve, like this lady, nilikuwa nimemshiba, like nilikuwa nimemtoka because she knew and she put me through all these things. And I knew that when I left, she will come back and she will not acknowledge what I had done and what I had sacrificed because she has never had a mental breakdown like I had. And then she had reminded me of something she and her friend, well, they were teens, they had done to me when I was a kid. Because I always remembered it, but I was like, Nisawa, whatever she had done while I was a kid, she was also a kid, so I can push it under the rug and just leave it there, not think about it. But when she that day she told me, nilijua haizi kulipa more than that. That rug that nilikuwa nimepushio kitu alinifanyia nikiwa mtoto, ilisukuma huko sana, that thing came out. And so whenever I had her voice, whenever I had to call her and tell her what was happening, whenever I was talking to her, whatever was happening, I remember that thing as well. She was a kid. I don't blame her a lot because she was still a child, but it brought it back. And I'm like, you did this to me when I was a kid. Whenever you help me as an adult, I go there and I'm like, yeah, let's just say that she's paying back for this. Maybe subconsciously she's doing so. But when she told me she literally hurt me knowingly, and I know she doesn't see it that way. She doesn't see it from my side. But the day she confessed with her mouth that she had hurt me knowingly, it was not okay, it was not fair. And no matter how you see the situation or you twist it or, I don't know, you want to make it seem like I was the bad person in the picture, you were wrong for doing what you did. I would just get home and start crying sometimes because of just how I was feeling and how that office was making me feel. And the thing is, that boss is one of the best bosses I've ever worked for. But the situation in that office was just off. And whenever the clients would go off on me, they would just trigger things that I don't know. But I tried until the last moment. I went off on this woman and I'm still sorry. I'll forever, honestly and truthfully be sorry for how I responded to her when I first spoke. But for hanging up on her, I'm not sorry for that because you don't insult people just because you know I cannot do anything about it because I'm supposed to be cordial with you because I'm the employee and you are the client. It doesn't mean that you have to insult me and I have to take it. Don't do that because you don't know what I'm going through. Like that time I was at my wit's end. I was gone. I was like at a very bad place, very dangerous place. Those suicidal thoughts, they were coming back. They were already back. I was already at that point. And this was also after I'd seen my former boss in that office. You don't even know what was going on in my mind. So I am sorry to her for how I responded the first time. But everything else, me hanging up and how I just behaved the rest of the time in that office, I'm not sorry. But I tried my best. It's not my fault that God created me with a mean face. Mean beach resting face. That is up to God. I told one of my HRs that if you have a problem with it, take it up with God. I cannot change my face. It's not my fault that I'm not as bubbly as she is. So if people say, oh, she's not like you, she's not like this, we're not the same person. Two people cannot behave the same way. As long as I'm cordial and respectful towards you, because it's an office setup, that's all I can give. the extra me asking you questions. And there's someone else who just called me a liar because I told them I'm okay being by myself. And she's like, you're a liar. You can never tell me anything like that. And I'm like, hey, tumeanza kugombana sana. Wewe ndio umeniuliza swali, I've responded to you from my perspective. Unaweza kunitusi why? Ukiniita muongo, like why? But anyway, at the end of the day, the client will go into the doctor's office. They'll complain that I was being rude and I'll be the one reprimanded. It never happened, but after I left, I had something she said to somebody else that I know. Just like I was rude to her, I was rude to the doctor. When the doctor complained, I was rude to some clients and they all complained and all of this. And I was just a different person. I don't know what. I was just not the person that I usually am. She said all of these things and it's fine. It's okay. As I said, I told my grandma, I told my friend, she will say that. Because I used to tell my friend, I don't want to leave early because if I do, if I decide to go with what my gut tells me to just leave and have her resolve her issues by herself, atafute mtu mwingine or something, she will end up telling people that I did her wrong and people will see me as the bad person in this scenario. And even now, I remember telling my friend, like even now as I'm leaving, even after Nemo extended by a month, even now as I leave, she will still complain that I did something wrong. I told her, because I just knew it. And it happened. So if you listen to this, know that I know what you said. I know what happened. And again, I don't think I'll ever forgive you for that situation. The situation you put me into knowingly. Si ati huko unajua. Kama ungekuwa unajua, I would have said, fine, sawa. If you would have spoken about it and you would have told me that this is how much he's willing to offer, na bado nikubali kukaa, I would have been okay with the whole situation. But the fact that you knew and you didn't tell me and you let me walk into that situation knowing how I was going to feel about it, yeah, you are not a good friend. That was wrong of you. I was a better friend because I came in to help you. And in that situation, you have to understand that I helped you more than you helped me. And yeah, I'm still very pissed. But ni sawa. Those 3 moments were the worst moments, my lowest mental health moments. Like I was so down. Like I can't even, I know the second one was the worst. The second one, that one, losing that job to like going to the cruise ship, that one was the lowest. Because kama ningeenda hiyo, I wouldn't have faced that issue in 2023 with this third issue. Kama ningeenda hiyo, I wouldn't be here now, like without a job. I would be earning good money. I would have done a lot of things that I intended to do. My dreams, I would actually be living my dreams. I would have accomplished a lot of things. But because that didn't happen, 2023 happened, last year happened, and now I'm still jobless. So even if it's doing this YouTube thing, maybe I would have still done it, but as a part-time thing. And I will have, the equipments that I need, proper equipments that I need, because I would have the money to buy them. But now I can't afford them. So, yeah. Take care of your mental health. When somebody tells you they're not okay mentally, listen. Do not assume. I know Africans were like, hiyo ni kitu ya wazungu. Mental health nini? Hakuna. No. When I tell you I'm not okay, I'm not pretending. There's no way nitaamka asubuhi nijifanye, I feel like committing suicide. No. It has come from somewhere. And when I tell you about it, you have to listen. So the government, kudos for decriminalizing it. But you people who are out there who listen to this, when somebody tells you they're not okay, listen. Because there's a friend I told I quit that other job because the environment was toxic. And she was like, what do you mean? So na tu job unakatu na unalipwa. Mi singeitoka. Because for her, it's all just about the money. Yes, the money will help me pay my bills and that's good. But tena, if I'm there and I'm thinking of committing suicide, come on. Nitakufa juu ya job alafu. And I'll be replaced immediately I leave. And then, so no. If your work environment is stressful, if you can leave before, leave. If you know that you have a fallback, fine. If you cannot leave, try to figure out a way to leave. Itakusaidia, like if you'll get another job first or whatever, but try to do it. But I will urge you not to stay in a place where mentally you're not okay. Because that is the biggest. Utakapo, and then how will it end for you? I put myself in such a situation for 4 months and I don't know why I did that. Up to now, but because I knew it was going to, anyway, I don't want to go back to that. So just take care of your mental health. Again, when somebody tells you they're not okay, believe them. Do not question. Do not mock them. Do not start talking about them to other people. If you can help, help. If you cannot help, keep quiet about it. And let them solve it the best way they can. If they tell you they need a day to think, give them that day to think. If they tell you called, I couldn't answer because I was not okay mentally, I couldn't take your load, understand them and give them grace. This life is so stressful without us adding on to other, adding on like our own issues to other people. Like, don't go around adding your issues to other people, not knowing what they're going through. Be kind to people. You never know what people are going through. Because at that time I was smiling, I was laughing with people, I was making jokes and everything, being nice, trying to be nice. But ndani ya roho, ndani ya akili, I was shattered. Totally shattered. Like, I remember hiyo siku nilimaliza, I went nikajibaya chipo and I bought ice cream. That was the first time nilijispoil na pesa hiyo ofisi. I went and bought myself chips na kuku, nikabuy ice cream. I got home, nikakula chipo na kuku. Actually, I think nilikulia huko. Yeah, because I couldn't wait. Ice cream ndo nilibeba nikakuja nao nyumbani. I ate the ice cream and then that night I slept for the first time. I was fine. The next day I woke up, I felt rejuvenated. My mental health became better. I had clarity. My mind was free. I felt that weight I was feeling that was making me tired and, feel like I can't just go on, and it was like it was lifted. I felt so free that day. Take care. Take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. Always listen to what people are telling you and respect their boundaries and respect it. And if you want somebody to help you, please be kind. And don't think that just because you're helping somebody, you can do or say whatever you feel like it because you think, oh, nimemuinua ama nimemsaidia. No. Because kumbuka leo ni mimi, kesho ni wewe. You never know. So just be respectful to people's feelings and be kind to people. Okay? Please remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Please follow. Do not subscribe and refuse to come back to listen. Please listen. I really need listeners. I don't know what happened. Where are you going, guys? I know these episodes have been coming longer and longer, but come on, come back and listen after you subscribe. Don't just subscribe and go away. Come back and listen. Please help us, sister. We're still trying to get to the 50 mark. Please. Bado tumekwapa kwa 19. I don't know why. Actually say 19. Tuko 19, 20, 21, 22. Because I told you the subscriber channels as Yonyeshi kama one of the subscribers. I don't know why. But please, 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 please help me to get to 50 subscribers for now. Then we'll go to 100 and then 150 to kipanda. Please, 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 please. Okay? Bye-bye now. Love you.